Hello everybody, welcome back. How's everybody doing? I hope you guys are doing great. It is a beautiful over here. It's great days to ride. There's so many nice days to ride. It's hot, so that's good. Lucky for me, there's not too much traffic. Early in the morning is like the best time to go out, or like late at night sometimes. Here at least, because there's like next to no traffic right now, see? Today I'm going to talk a little bit about, traffic. Yeah, that's a signal. Are you going to hit the person? No. Oh, good job on you, man. Good job for letting the person in. As you guys know, we went on a trip. If you guys didn't know that, then I believe it's season 3 episode 50 through 54. But we had a chance to go through a few different places, both BC and Alberta. And so we had a chance to really, do a nice long road trip. And since we took the car, it's one of those things you sit back and you relax and you kind of see a lot more of everything. One of the coolest things we saw is, well, a ton of bad drivers. And the reason I say cool is things we saw, it's never cool to see bad drivers, but one of the cool things we saw is a ton of bad drivers. And when you see bad drivers, I almost feel like it's a normal thing to see bad drivers, but man, does it ever change from like just little bits, like within like 300-400 kilometers of one city to the next, you see such a massive difference in how people drive. Well, while we were in BC, I see the same consistency here. People like to kind of go over the speed limit, and they still maintain a flow of traffic, which is nice. So, just because the speed limit is 50 doesn't mean that people are doing 50. They're doing 60, 65, 70. But everybody's doing 55, 60, 70. And most people, like see this person, it's a double yellow. They cannot cross, but they're signaling. They're going to stay there. And I have no problem pointing these kind of people out because they drive me up the wall. It's funny, I'm talking about bad drivers and you just run into them. And one of the things I'm seeing is these are the kind of things that I see a lot of. People have like no respect for double yellows. People have no respect for just any real serious rules that can actually be dangerous. So crossing a double yellow is just, it's a bonehead move. You should never do that. But look at the car in front of me. This is somebody that signals in time. Oh, I had something stuck on my lip. So this is a person who signaled in time. I am fully aware of what they're going to do. And it's nice to see that because it's important. It's important for me being behind them to know what their next, move is. On the top of it, this person also went and took a right lane went on to a right turn, but turned onto the proper lane. I can't stand it when people don't turn onto the proper lane because, and again, she signaled. Like, that's a great driver right there. See what I mean? So it's these little things that really add up, and to do the right things, and it doesn't take effort. Again, she's signaling well in advance. I actually was going to pull in that lane, but because she's signaling, there we go. I'm not going to. I can't stand people who signal like basically right before the turn, and I'm talking like a second or two before they take a turn. More often than not, you're going to see their brake lights come on and then a signal light and then they're taking the turn. It's silly, right? And one of the things I noticed throughout this road trip I took is how different everybody acts. And there's another example. Like, I'm doing 55, that guy takes off. This is a 50 zone. I'm doing 58. The car ahead of me is doing 58. So we all go over the speed limit, but it's peaceful. It's not aggressive. And I think these are fine, not aggressive. And this person just like comes up at like 60k, 65. They're probably doing like 68, so 65 at least. So this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's still peaceful regardless of the fact that they're kind of breaking the rule. That person just ran a red light. So, and you can tell, this is kind of, it's ridiculous how well you can tell who's going to do what if you pay attention to it. The guy drives aggressively. Obviously, we're all doing almost 10k over the speed limit, and yet he has to come up and just kind of fly by us, resulting in him running a red light. it's kind of one of those things. You can tell how and what people are doing. Look at that, cool. What people are going to be doing just based on their driving habits, and I think it's up to a lot of us to actually, learn. I think it's experience more than anything else. It's always going to come down to experience, right? And the other thing too is, when you see this kind of things happening, when you kind of consistently see it, the city kind of builds its own, I would say, style. Like every city has its own style, and here this is a common thing. People will run red lights. It seems to be no different than a lot of cities, but I noticed this in Calgary. I noticed this in Edmonton. I noticed this here. I see a lot of people running red lights, and although it comes more across as they're running a yellow, if you are still in that intersection, as the full car is still in the intersection when that light turns red, to me, you ran a red light, and that's just the way it is. Now, that guy that flew right by us is right ahead of me. Did he do anything crazy? Did he endanger anybody's life? No. Look, it's his style of driving, and it's my job in some ways to know what he's going to do and, pay attention to that. But the differences in each city have been incredible. As an example, we went through Calgary, and one of the things I noticed in Calgary is, you may have a 110K limit on a specific highway. There are people that were doing 80, 70, and 160. There's such a huge variation. Here, it's not as much of a variation. One thing that's constant here is people will go over the speed limit. So those guys are losing me right now. I'm doing 63. The cars behind me are actually steady with me. So what does that say? And then there's these people who walk on the median. I don't understand it. But, so is this a dangerous scenario? No. Everybody is running over the speed limit, but they're not doing anything dangerous. So it's very tough to say that everybody right now is a bad driver, including me, because I'm breaking the speed limit. But it feels like it's a more controlled scenario. So is everybody here a bad driver now? I don't know. I wouldn't call them bad drivers, as long as they are, I guess, equally bad. Does that make any sense? If there's a constant and there's a rhythm to the traffic, I don't think it makes that big of a difference, if you're doing 50 or 60, as long as there's a rhythm, right? Nobody's weaving in and out of traffic. Nobody's, being silly and accelerating hard and doing this, that, the other thing. That white car, for example, now weaved out of out of this lane, went in front of the Range Rover, went over to that lane, and now he's back on this lane. So there was no actual point to that, right? This is what I mean by a bad driver. He literally gained, 2 car lengths, and that's about it. And all that weaving in and out didn't do anything good for him. So to me, those are things that I would call that not necessarily a bad driver as much as a reckless driver. But one of the biggest things I've seen throughout this road trip is this huge difference. In, this is my point, right? So it's this huge difference in mentality and the way that each district or each little place acts according to the area that they're in. There's a uniform, mentality, but that's not true everywhere. Some places it's just erratic, and I don't want to pick on Calgary, but then again, Snowcat is in Calgary. Everybody knows that who watches Snowcat. The guy makes a lot of bad driver videos, and that's because there are a ton. And I'll tell you right now, I didn't actually think there were that many. I really didn't. Until I didn't actually go there and drive there, I did not think there were that many there. I think it's kind of like what he says. People are like, oh, you just go out and find them. Well, yeah, to some degree, I think that's what it was. For most of us, that's how we're thinking of it. But I'll tell you right now, I think the guy's being very, very kind, to be honest. Where are you going? You see what I mean? Like, what's the point of that? So, Calgary and Edmonton, they were tough. They were tough to drive in just because there was no consistency. There was no rhythm to the traffic, right? There we go. how's it going? So because there's no rhythm to the traffic, it's very hard for you to actually figure out what's happening. I know what happens here. I know that people are going to be going over the speed limit. I know that we're all going to be going more or less over the speed limit, be it 10K, 15K, but it's a standard. It's something that we all do here. And is it legal? No, it's completely illegal, but at the same time, if I drop myself down to 50 and do strictly the speed limit, I'm actually impeding traffic. Believe it or not, I'm going to be impeding traffic. That's not something you want to do. On a second note, by me doing 50 when everyone else is doing 60, 65, I'm kind of putting myself in a pretty dangerous spot, because somebody's changing lanes or anything like this, especially when I'm on a motorcycle. I can get in a lot of trouble because they don't expect me to be doing 50 because no one else does 50. So, you know, I am very curious. I want to know kind of you guys' area, and this is something I'm going to keep an eye on future road trips. I want to know what your area is like. What is that constant in your area? Is it people going too slow, people going too fast, people changing lanes, you know, radically, which I know a lot of people are probably going to say that one. But at the same note, I think it's every little place has their own little thing. Now, ironically, the best place, my favorite place to drive on my road trip was in a place called Medicine Hat, Alberta. And I kid you not, guys, everybody was following the speed limit. Everybody was just driving so nice and so respectful for one another. I mean, people were actually stopping for one another. They let people, you know, when they saw somebody signaling, they let people in. I can't say enough good things about it. And I was there for a few days, and it was just shocking to me. Like, we were going down the highway, people were doing maybe 5 over the speed limit, maybe. In some cases, they were doing exactly the speed limit. Throughout the city, people were coming to the four-way stops. They stopped. I didn't see a single person running a red light in that place, and it was such a strange change for me. I got so adapted to it really quickly within, you know, a couple of days, that when I went to Calgary, where I went from, you know, basically we were in Medicine Hat and then we went to Calgary, I found myself in such a weird position. I almost felt like I had to change my entire driving style. So yeah, it was very refreshing to see that, you know, there are places that follow these rules and regulations, and how much of a difference it makes when you see people doing that. It was an amazing experience. And me, especially because I love driving and I love riding, I pay attention to a ton of stuff. And honestly, you as a driver or as a rider or even as a passenger, just take a little time over the next little while and just kind of pay attention to that and see what are the things that you notice that is a constant in your city or your town or wherever you live. And leave me a comment. Please leave me a comment. Let me know. I'm dying to know. With that said, you know, kind of give me an idea whereabouts you are. Don't just so I can kind of have a reference. But it is very interesting to me. So yeah, this video is long. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna leave it at that. Please comment and let me know. So with that said, I'm gonna say thank you very much for watching, boys and girls. I always appreciate your comments. I always appreciate the subscribers, and yeah, don't forget to love, ride, and explore. And you know, like, comment, and subscribe also helps if you want to support the channel. And yeah, what can I say, boys and girls? Ride safe. Till next time, goodbye, and see ya. Bye bye.